Boston, Massachusetts, April 24. Jaylen Brown. Note to user. User expressly acknowledges and agrees that, by downloading and/or using this photograph, user is consenting to the terms and conditions of the Getty Images license agreement. Mandatory copyright notice. Copyright 2018 NBA photo by Brian Babino, NBA via Getty Images. The Boston Celtics had one of their worst defensive performances of the season in Game 6, and know they need to be significantly better if they want to get a Game 7 victory. The Celtics have been playing much better defense since Marcus Smart returned, but their offense has been simply unacceptable. The scariest part is that it was a failure across the board for the Celtics. Jason Tatum may have been the lone exception, but he did nothing spectacular, with 22 points on 6-16 shooting and 2-6 from 3. If it wasn't for the work he did at the free throw line, Tatum would have joined the rest of the group in a miserable offensive game. The Celtics finished with just 86 points on 37% overall shooting and 27% from 3. The Celtics play some great defense, but are not going anywhere with that kind of offense. When you look deeper, it gets even worse for the Celtics. They actually lost the assist battle to a Bucks team that should not be moving the ball better than them, and could not get the easy buckets in transition. If the Celtics want to fix their offense, it is not going to be with any one individual. Every single player on this roster knows they can be better in Game 7, but none of them can think they need to do it on their own. It always has to be a collective effort with this team, and that is why we need to look into the shot distribution of every single player in order to get a better understanding of how things were so bad in Game 6. Page 2 BOSTON, MA, April 24. Semi-O delay. Note to user. User expressly acknowledges and agrees that, by downloading and/or using this photograph, user is consenting to the terms and conditions of the Getty Images license agreement. Mandatory copyright notice. Copyright 2018 NBA photo by Brian Babino, NBA via Getty Images. The Celtics have their leaders on offense that they want to be handling the ball and taking the majority of the shots, but looking into how the others did in Game 6 reveals a massive problem. Semi-O delay. Greg Monroe, Shane Larkin and Aaron Baines all took just one shot each, accounting for a grand total of 4 points scored. The Celtics do not want these players, who represent the very bottom of their rotation, to be taking a lot of shots. That being said, there needs to be some activity. It is abundantly clear that the Celtics will not be able to match the top talent of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, so they cannot afford to sacrifice this much at the bottom of their rotation. The problem is that the Celtics do not want of these individuals to be more aggressive. They only want them to take what is given to them, taking nothing but open shots. What needs to happen is the ball movement needs to get back to the best, because that will give these players a lot more open looks. They are not going to create offense, but the Celtics cannot continue to mount the pressure on their top players, and the best way to alleviate some offensive pressure is making sure these players are in positive positions, with ball movement that makes it too difficult for the Bucks to account for everyone. Celtics need everyone to get going to be at their best on offense, and that means the top players putting in the extra work that will get these players easier looks than anyone else on the court. Page 3 BOSTON, MA, April 24. Al Horford. Note to user. User expressly acknowledges and agrees that, by downloading and/or using this photograph, user is consenting to the terms and conditions of the Getty Images license agreement. Mandatory copyright notice. Copyright 2018 NBA photo by Brian Babino, NBA via Getty Images. Al Horford. Horford's shot selection is one of the most difficult things to evaluate on the Celtics. People look at his contract, and want him to be the top scoring option with all kinds of volume and shooting. Not only is that not the kind of player Horford is, but it is the last thing the Celtics want him to do. That being said, 8 total field goal attempts for a total of 10 points is still lower than the standard of what they want him to do. In Game 7, it is much more important that Horford generates the ball movement that will help the others. Horford needs to take on the most responsibility in fixing these offensive struggles, but he is the one player who cannot do it with uncharacteristic volume. Unfortunately, 8 shots is low even for him, and the Celtics are going to need more scoring from Horford, on top of seeing a bigger difference with the ball movement. The Celtics do want Horford to be pushing himself to be something that he is not. They have seen the kind of impact he can have to be at his best, so he cannot be the guy that walks in thinking he needs to make every single shot to ensure they go out of this series. The Celtics need the ball movement and they need the defense most, but this offense needs more reliability right now, and Horford cannot be under his season average of 10 shots per game. The Celtics need Horford to be active anytime he touches the ball, and they need him to be generating more overall offense than anyone. His biggest impact will always be with the passing, but he cannot see his scoring volume go down from what the Celtics have been able to take for granted with him. Page 4 MILWAUKEEY, April 26, Jaylen Brown. Note to user. User expressly acknowledges and agrees that, by downloading and/or using this photograph, user is consenting to the terms and conditions of the Getty Images license agreement. Mandatory copyright notice. Copyright 2018 NBAE. Photo by Jesse D. Garabrant. NBAE via Getty Images. Jaylen Brown. Brown has taken over the role of highest volume guy on this team. That being said, he is not going to be taking that Russell Westbrook approach where he wants a massive volume of shots. He is the primary scoring option, but he never wants to hurt the production of the players around him. In Game 6, Brown was 2 off of a team lead with 15 shot attempts. The Celtics are never going to be upset with this kind of volume with Brown, but that is not the role he is trying to take over. If Brown wants to be the #1 option for this team, he needs to make sure he imposes his will in a stronger way than others on this team. He has great aggressiveness, but can still disappear at times. The most important thing for him is making sure he stays in rhythm and does disrupt the overall offense. That being said, he is not going to separate himself as a scorer if there are 4 other players shooting around the same as him. Brown has been efficient and reliable, even when he increases the volume. The Celtics know they need players to step up for their Game 6 performance, and Brown is the first one you look to. The Celtics need him breaking 20 points and binge a consistent presence. Even if it means seeing Brown take over 20 shots per game, he needs to prove that he can handle the extra responsibility at a time when the offense needs a clear boost. At the very least, the Celtics need to see Brown getting more easy opportunities, and he has to start hitting the free throws he should have no problem creating with his athleticism. Page 5 Use your arrows to browse Milwaukee. April 26, Jason Tatum. Note to user. User expressly acknowledges and agrees that, by downloading and/or using this photograph, user is consenting to the terms and conditions of the Getty Images license agreement. Photo by Dylan Buell. Getty Images. Jason Tatum. Tatum had the best offensive performance in Game 6, and the Celtics probably do not need him to change anything. What the Celtics need from Tatum is for him to be hitting more of these shots. 22 points is a solid effort from him, and his 14 shots are right around where you want him to be, to make sure he can be the most efficient player on the court. The best part of his performance was probably his ability to get to the free throw line. Tatum had a below-average shooting game, from 2 and from 3, but he was able to manufacture points by getting to the line. Tatum might be the most talented offensive player on this team, but the Celtics still cannot expect him to be a heavy-volume guy. What they do need, however, is for him to hit every single open shot, which they can be confident about, but they also need him to manufacture points when things are not looking out well. The Celtics inevitably fall into slumps, and even if the Celtics do not need Tatum to change the volume at all, he can be the most important timely scorer on the team. Use your arrows to browse